Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. If you are new to me, my name's Allera and I'm known as the modern day High Priestess. And I've had a little break from doing the Ask Allera for many different reasons, and many of them collectively, I'm sure that you will have resonance with. We've been going through a period of reinvention, rebirth, and softening. So there has been so many changes since I did one of the Ask Alleras the beginning of this year. And around that time, we had the spring equinox. And I specifically said within the next 12 months of that spring equinox, so a year's time going into 2024, you won't recognize yourself. You won't recognize the world around you. And we are on a fast track trajectory really until 2025 for new foundations in all areas of society, business, education, the way we school our children, the way we parent, birth, everything. From 2025 to 2027, we've got this fast track accelerator where the strong foundations are in place. Once you have a large collective field that are living more from the heart, are more connected intuitively to themselves, to their souls, to themselves as a multidimensional collective frequency, being, consciousness, and how that interrelates with everyone around us, we start to see huge jumps in the collective mind, shall we say, meaning that people that have been almost locked in the mind, they're stuck in needing to look at theory and get all the information from a book, by osmosis of being around others who have already elevated their frequency, their psyche, and they've also learned through existential life experiences and integrated and embodied it. It means that by being in their energy field through the law of entrainment, or you might want to call it osmosis of being around others at a higher frequency, people get switched on. They get activated on a cellular level, on a DNA level, and it starts to switch on latent DNA consciousness that they start to switch on energetically. So this is really on a micro level been what's happening since the beginning of the year. Now, one of the other things that we will be noticing is if you're not aware that that is on a higher, very simplistic level happening, you probably think, you know, the world's gone bonkers. There's so much change. All of these things, my steady plans are not playing out. My linear plans for the year, my projections, my predictions, they're not playing out. That's because we have all gone through many different timeline shifts that are being influenced both by the changes that we, many individually that are spiritually awakening, are expanding their consciousness, are making choices that are more in coherence with who they are instead of what women should be doing, what society says we should be doing, the old belief systems that have driven us to create lives in ways that may not be the way we want to live our next chapter. So the more we have a mass consciousness making changes that are aligned with their true inner, true north, the more that ripple effect energetically and just as it being a norm starts to roll out. No longer do we put our energy into just fighting the old. We step away, pull our energy away and refocus our point of attraction on new communities, new collectives, being surrounded by those who have a similar vision or in a similar pathway or a few steps ahead that can essentially see what we can't see and can accelerate our growth, our life transformation, because this is the spiritual awakening journey means that we wake up from understanding as the divine human to the divine soul. And then we have this merging essentially where we've got almost like two levels of consciousness that we are trying to perceive the world through. So the human self is operating through the lens of wounded ego. So the individual from age 0 to 7 years old is pretty much the blind spots that we carry and project out. And that's all the unconscious bias and the triggers. So we've got that layer who has tried to often keep safe through controlling things, going the way that everybody says they should go, because that's the right method. So that part of self is going through a bit of an ego death. The wounded parts are getting very triggered by the fact of how they sought validation outside of themselves or to, their accomplishments. It's beginning to hold less both outer value, but also it's not filling the big hole inside. And these big wounds, these big gaps inside cannot be filled through the old methods and all of the old numbing agents, the addictions, the toxic relationships, the things that we maybe use to distract ourselves as a coping mechanism to avoid the emotions that we've not been supported or helped to actually understand what they are, process them, and not fear them. They're starting to come to the surface. And with that means that we start to hear this other level of our consciousness through our emotions, through our body. And often, if we ignore the voice of the body, which is a spirit of consciousness, it will speak to us through injury, illness, burnout, reproductive issues. Not to say that that's isolated, but your body will start to intuitively tell you things. And that in itself can be your driver to better understand yourself and have better body autonomy and take control of the wheel, because you go on a path to heal, to understand maybe the infertility, to understand what is going on, to understand how you got into that codependent toxic relationship. What were the patterns in childhood that made that experience feel so normal that you went along with it? And these kind of things are coming up for people. And we're beginning to also notice that we have both the family constellation, so, you know, the environment that we were brought up in and how that has influenced every other relationship that we've had. But we also have the workplace constellation, which is also a dynamic that will have echoes of the woundings and the pieces that you all need to work out with each other playing out. So in the past, people may well have disappeared off to, you know, work as a way of avoiding the home issues. Now, because there is such a frequency shift and everybody is going through an awareness of change, but maybe not able to put their finger on it, they are triggering each other, whether it's in the workplace, whether it's at home, in your groups. This is all very natural. It's all very normal. But it can really feel like you're on very unsteady ground. And especially if you have no one to talk to about perhaps some of the more spiritual or woo-woo things that you are experiencing, you may start to pick up on other people's thoughts, because you are energetically able to start to pick up on thought forms in other people's energy field whilst they're around you. You may start to get very clear dreams that are telling you things and then they manifest. You may start to be getting really strong nudges or synchronicity, coincidental or non-coincidental events and situations happening, and it's helping you notice certain patterns that you couldn't before. And it's starting to allow you to see that everything starts in energy before it comes into physical manifest. So when we're beginning to go through that bridge, we're beginning to really make ourselves aware of this divine human self, the 3D into 4D at the moment. And that may also be showing up in addiction patterns, strange dreams. Sometimes it is very, very distinct shifts. Suddenly you have this huge impulse that you need to go somewhere and you don't exactly know why, but you're trusting it and you're following it and you're going. And these nudges are your soul speaking through you. When you have a deep desire, and this is going to be happening to a lot of women, a lot of people across the world at this time, because there is a clarion call. Those deep desires for us to have a certain life experience that, you know, on a very intrinsic level is so ingrained and important for you, that is a whisper. It's a whisper through your soul from source, God, creator, whichever denomination you want to call that. And it's coming through you because essentially by you moving forwards in that authentic way, you will drop a lot of the karmic creations that you've been almost harnessed by, because you've maybe stayed in relationships too long. You've sat in the workplace in a job that doesn't light you up because you thought it was safe. You've bought into the narrative that there's not enough jobs, and, you know, it's scarcity. Yeah. And you're beginning to also realize that much of our society and the way people have also managed and motivated and educated and communicated is through lack, scarcity, and fear. So we hold it on a reptilian brain, a epigenetic perspective from our ancestors, but we've also had it almost programmed linguistically in the way that we've been taught and educated in how workplaces are run. So what that means is we have to get to a point where that inner knowing and calling is a stronger bang at the door to listen to that than anybody else's opinions. Because quite frankly, you will never make everyone else happy. You will never get a full consensus of everyone on this planet to believe what you believe. this is not the time to be seeking that validation outside of you, because everybody is going through their own shifts. So you might find that you have this really intense, cohesive, aligned connection with somebody, but because you're both going through your own inner changes, it is fleeting. It's for a week, a month, because you've come in for some soul reason to activate aware, and then it's about both of you moving through growth. So if we can imagine that the level of growth that's going on at this time, we've not had this for thousands and thousands of years, and we're behind. We've actually missed many of these gateways of us stepping further into purpose. And now it's a matter of, there is a force to a degree for us to really honor what we truly have within us and what we're desiring to express and experience. And we also have this challenge whereby we're seeing the fall of the guru, whether it's the religious or the spiritual guru. So where morals through fear and conditioning and separation and judgment came in through a lot of religious programming, we will subconsciously, so our inner child and parts of our subconscious will be running these programs that if I'm to dream big and desire these things, that's bad because money's bad, and all of this programming. So we've also got the programming of, education collective. We've got the programming of our childhood, but we've also got the programming that we've got by being in a society that's been strongly had pillars that were influenced by certain opinions and belief systems that may not actually be divine truth, meaning they are not the only belief system you can have. Many of them created a lot of shame and stigma and persecution around sexuality, which is our accessing our life force energy, which is our divine birthright. That meant that we shame ourselves. Shame is one of the lowest frequencies. If we are sat in shame, it's very hard for us to manifest new, abundant, open experiences because we hold those imprints. So we are coming up against quite a lot at the moment, but that whisper, that inner calling that's banging on the door saying, don't ignore me. Yeah, you're here for something more. You're here for the change. You're here to be rebuilding something new. You're here to be part of this, and you're valid and you're worthy and you're needed. Now that whisper is potentially what allows you to find this video. That whisper is the whisper that guides you to have that conversation with somebody that gets it and gives you that extra code or that bit of reassurance to step further. But it can be really challenging when we are perhaps, surrounded by people that are just not on the same page. And there's another dimension to this as well, which is when we are surrounded by others who have made the big leap transformations, because it can seem like I know where I want to go, but I've got no understanding of how I would get there. I would love to leave my corporate job, or I would love to be doing X, Y, Z, but I've got no understanding of how I change from this identity with all these fears and beliefs and conditions and illusions of who I think I am to this other version of self. Some of that can be actually done by being around others who have already done it by osmosis. You start to notice them, the modeling. There is an energetic entrainment that goes on. But the deepest piece to really shift these timelines, because it's no point just morphing into another version of yourself. You've got to energetically be able to align to that new version, meaning that you become her. You step into your higher self. You allow more of your truth and light into you, and it expresses through whatever it is you're being called to. And it doesn't need to be that you're being necessarily called into another dimensional level of purpose. It might well be you've got a really deep calling to be a mother, and you're in a relationship that perhaps that's just not going to happen. It's not aligned. It's a realization that this partner isn't the right one. And you know that something needs to shift in you, which is often mother wounding, ancestral healing and clearing, for you to get to a place where you are in alignment to either attracting the right individual partner and also call in that soul. All of these things are coming up because it's part of your unique awakening code, what has come through you, what your soul is speaking to you, because it's going to bring you the most fulfillment, desire, expansion, without the judgment of what that means, without needing to sacrifice. That was a very strong religious programming, was all about sacrifice. It's not truth. Now, I went through huge transitions whilst I was working for one of the top global investment banks. And one of the big things was, you know, it was about coming out the closet to a degree, being all of myself whilst in that environment, and knowing that by doing that, I was shining my light. I was anchoring in new codes and frequencies by being myself in that environment, by being different, by understanding that my diversity in the way that I was something that was needed, and actually gives permission for the rest of the team and the people around me to do the same. Now, that was many years ago. And I also ran my side hustle, which is obviously the business I have now, whilst doing that job. So I understand the challenges of switching between the bridge between worlds. And it may be that you're not necessarily lined up to set up a business up that is perhaps, you know, working with the healing arts, but it might well be that your intuitive gifts and your ability to have that intuitive download and communicate it at the right management level, because you have access to it, you have the expertise, you have what I call the encyclopedia, because you're an expert in your industry. You're the one that is positioned uniquely there to bring that message through, because you are the change maker that can actually bring through that higher frequency, that higher vision that is going to change industries through the catalyst of other people doing the same. So we're in this unique position where each one of us has a unique expression of our gifts, and it's not cookie cutter. It's not about following a strategy. It's about literally clearing this kind of channel of self to start to receive more and clear guidance from our higher self and soul, from the spiritual teams that we have, and starting to also understand that everything is energy. Everything must first be manifest in the energetic realms before it can come into physical form. So given that many have never ever cleared their energy, meaning think about things from a shamanic perspective. You know, we have multiple layers of energy fields. We have, the soul is multidimensional, it's expansive. We have pieces that will be unseen to the physical eye that need to be cleared out the way, because they sit in your energy field and unknown to you, they're armory, they're blocks. So it means that you either cannot radiate your energy out and attract people, situations, money, flow, whatever to you, or people are responding to the stuff you have in your field and they can't access your heart. And this is really, really common. So when we understand that there are some pieces in a cyclical nature that we can start to work with the cycles again. So women by default are cyclical beings. And, you know, when we have things like the contraceptive pill and we've got, you know, we're working like men and everything's forced and there's not much stop and not much time to step back, we have become very, very disconnected from our cyclical nature. We've become very, very disconnected from nature in itself. And, you know, when we've got a lot of artificial lights, we've got all the things going on in our foods, our hormones can be all over the place. So we have that on a biological point of view, but that biological point of view impacts your biohologram, your energy field. So when we start to, bit by bit, come more into coherence with the mind, body, soul, emotions, and energy field, we will notice that the things that we start to desire, and when we start to take those steps forward, yes, there is a new skill, there might be letting go of something, there is stepping through a comfort zone, but it becomes easier and smoother. We can start to manifest a lot easier, because essentially we are working with a clear field, not up against old consciousness, old beliefs, old woundings that are sat in our field and in our bodies that make it seem desperately unsafe for us to be more of who we actually are. So when we're trying to navigate that ourselves, we can't see what we can't see. We can't see our blind spots. We don't know the roadmap. We don't know that it's quite common for certain things to be happening. So our mind, who is like 2% limited to the level of awareness that it has witnessed in this lifetime, is trying to figure it all out. And you might have gone through Google and you're looking at everything under the sun, and you've got lots of different people at different levels of consciousness, but they're all also at different levels of wealth consciousness. There may be people that are deeply in dark night of the soul. They're going through a big kind of shift and they're in fear and scarcity. So their messaging that they are teaching from is going to come through that lens. So if you tap into that and start following that, you will find yourself aligning to somebody else's belief systems that may not actually be of the highest service for you to expand and have the greatest impact, greatest joy, and essentially live most authentically in the way that you desire to, in a way that is also aligned to heart and soul. So this is going to be, obviously, it's always a choose your own adventure. the teacher turns up when you're ready. But this is why I have decided to listen to the clarion call. I've opened up the Sisters of the Phoenix Collective, which really is a ode to the fact that, you know, the women I've worked through, we've been through many different transformations in our lives. They may be spiritual transformations, they're usually life transformations. We've been, you know, very successful in our careers, and then we have made radical changes to come into alignment with who we actually are, because we know that there's something bigger on this planet that we're here to contribute towards, and actually being surrounded by each other really, really helps with that. We know that we may have a spiritual, more woo-woo level to our abilities, gifts, intuition, and actually bringing that into an integrated modern day version, and how we start to just allow that to be ourselves is a gift in itself. And that's something that we drive and strive towards. It's something that means that we're not masking, we're not pretending to be something we're not. We're not hiding our intuition, we're not hiding our natural gifts and awareness, but we don't necessarily need to be identified by them. We don't need to go and put a robe and a costume on in order to identify our abilities in that realm. Every single person is an extrasensory being. Everybody has the certain energy centers that can be opened up, honed, and learnt how to translate. If you have not been given the opportunity to do that, then of course it's going to come with a lot of fear-based conditioning and demonization, but it's part of who you are. And we're going to see more and more people that are, you know, having experiences that open up their sensory awareness. We've already got many people that describe themselves as empaths and highly sensitive individuals, and much of the neurodiversity is actually very similar to those that are highly able to access multidimensional realms. So I see this with the different clients I've worked with over the past 7 years, and, you know, I can track where they're pulling their consciousness in from. I can track where the information is in their energy field, what level they're pulling the data in from. So when we can realize that everybody's doing it in a slight different way, there's usually a wounding pattern that is causing it to happen in a certain way. And the more that we are energy aware, we start to use some energy hygiene, life becomes a lot easier, things flow, our body feels healthier, more vibrant, and generally we're more we're more clear. We get more clear cognizance, the downloads come through. So knowing that the past year, I've predominantly been working with a lot of one-to-one clients and like immersions generally, but realizing that there is a real need for there to be a collective of women that essentially, you know, you're coming to the table, you have experienced a level of success in your life. You may well be in a corporate environment. You may be an entrepreneur, a founder. You may have done all sorts of different things. I've had CEOs, physicists, authors. It's not about your career path that means that you are coming into my field. Yes, I have a background in business. Yes, I have 22 years worth of experience working on sales and trading floors. I'm just bringing those encyclopedias and toolkits together, which helps me with those that are navigating, you know, conscious business or making changes in those kind of things. However, it's more about the soul contract. Are you knowing that you have a deep desire to be in a space where you can be yourself and you can learn through others' experiences? You can ask questions without judgment. You can start to come to a space where you're going through these shifts, knowing that you're actually able to get some of the very deep energetic root work done in a way that's not destabilizing, in a way that doesn't take up all your life. And these are tools that you are given that are tried and tested. They are, many of them, created when I was juggling those jobs and everything at the same time. So I know what it's like to be in those environments that are high pressure, lots of change, and you've got now everybody else changing as well. Those tools were there to help me keep myself stable whilst I was going through big shifts and everybody else was at the same time. So knowing that you're going to have a toolkit that will help you, it will help this transition period, whether it's out of the job or to, you know, maybe you've created this really successful career and it's made lots and lots of money, maybe through a business, but you know, deep down, it's not aligned to your soul. It doesn't light you up to just earn more money. So it might be that there needs to be a shift in that, which comes initially from the shift in you. So this might be, there could be all sorts of reasons that you are drawn to be into the collective. And knowing that it is a clarion call that came through me to connect in with those women, the sisters that I've had other lifetimes with as well, where we have been, embodied in our feminine power, our gifts, and these were revered gifts, and these need to be born through us again, activated through us, removing the shame, connecting more with our feminine energy in a way that is not derailing everything that's in our lives at the moment. It's not rejecting everything in our lives. It's about how do we weave in a deeper connection to ourselves, our bodies, our sensualities, and that means creating space, which also opens up the space to gain greater psychic downloads, intuition. It means shifting into a new way of being, but knowing that that is actually what is happening energetically across the planet, is this rebirth of the feminine energies, which is moving us away from this masculine hustle, force, push, prove ourselves, which is against our natural cycles of being, to allow us to come into more of our individual wave flow of movement. It's not that we never take action. It's about this undulation movement of the action, the rest, the pause, the action, the rest, the pause, the cycles. Knowing that when we're like that, we actually end up creating more and attracting more and receiving more, because we are working with a flow rather than pushing, forcing, and placing our agenda against an outcome. A lot of modern manifestation techniques are just manifesting through the mind. They're taking into no account with any other part of ourselves. That means that we are not bringing things in alignment and coherence with divine will. We are, divine law, sorry, we are basically personal will. We're pressing our agenda against everything. So it's knowing that we're being asked to start to co-create with soul, co-create energetically, and our body is aching for it. We're done with this burnout mode and fitting into boxes and niches and everything that doesn't really serve us, because you are so vast. And also we're all going to be going through many different rebirths of our kind of identity, of who we thought we are, who we desire to be, and saying yes to ourselves, knowing that it takes just one yes to open a new timeline. It's then about one step in front of another. You are not going to get some massive business plan and directive that's going to work exactly. It doesn't work like that when we're working with energy. That's your linear mind. So this is one of the things that when we are in these groups, we're going to be connecting on the full moon to be doing a release, and there'll be different themes. So because this is the opening ceremony, which is tomorrow, we will be doing quite a big karmic release, because there's going to be a lot of people that have been in this holding zone. The reason things have felt like a plateau or not moving, or projects falling away, or people saying no at the last minute, is because essentially we've been called to clear up a lot of the karmic stuff that we're misaligned with. So we're meant to be saying no to things. We're meant to be going, doesn't feel aligned anymore. It was exciting before, it doesn't feel exciting anymore. We need to start refining these things. We need to be pivoting. We've had this platform of almost pause where things are not moving, which feels quite frightening, because we're like, scarcity kicks in. It's there because we are being given a position to redirect the ship. From October onwards, fast track. So we can be fast track down the wrong road, or fast track where we actually have spaciousness to get the next step in front of us to start moving. And it's getting aware that that is going to be how things are coming through to us to a degree, because we're not going to be able to make these massive long plans in the same way we did, because it's dependent firstly on people that are changing. Secondly, there's going to be a collective impact on everything we do because of the level of change. So it's going to be about how agile can we be? How comfortable in our nervous system can we be with the uncertainty and the in-between stages and the pauses? Now, when you're with others who have walked this path for many years, we know how to ride the waves, not be smashed by them. And the energy clearing tools and the techniques and being able to see from a different angle, that really helps you navigate these waters in a similar way we had in 2020. So on the full moon, we will meet, and that will be a big deep clearing. There'll be a theme for the month. And because I work on the group collective, there will be pieces that will be brought up because of the women that are in the group, and that's what we'll be working with, so everybody gets a benefit. We'll also be working on the new moon, which will be an opportunity for you to have, released layers of things that aren't aligned and start to actually manifest with these cycles, starting to bring you into an awareness of your natural rhythms, but also an awareness of the influences of the moon, the influences of other people around you, and starting to pull back your energy, starting to be aware of who would you be if you started to always come back into your true north. Now, working on a monthly basis like this, with obviously membership access to lots of different tools, will mean that you start feeling more confident and in control of the experience of change and transition, whilst the world is going through its big rebirth as well. And this is really an opportunity for you to, at a very easily accessible price, dip into a membership community where there's no contract. If you sign up 1 month and you want to leave, you can. You're going to get an opportunity to firstly be in my spaces, secondly, be around others on that journey. But the additional thing that I'm creating here is the opportunity that we're going to be doing meetups, and I call them soul activation retreats abroad. I've been traveling for the past few months, and I've been sent to particular areas of the world to do particular land work, sacred sites, particular powerful land that is connected to us, maybe on a past life perspective, knowing that there is deep healing and activation in revisiting and rewalking the pilgrimages that we would have done in the past. And I've been called to bring women to some of those spaces for retreats, so that we can connect better on a collective sisterhood perspective, the experience, the new adventures, and allowing the magic of those, the world of the land, when we're on that land, to work through us, meaning it's not a rigid itinerary. Everything responds when we step into those kind of retreats, and yeah, it's magic. So there will be an opportunity for those in the group to get first invitation access to those retreats before it goes public. So it means that you get the opportunity to not only connect and build relationships with people that are also going through big shifts like you, and it means that you then get the opportunity to perhaps go on a retreat with them and connect with them as well. So it becomes this invitation for your growth to be through more fun, to be redefining what this sisterhood energy is. You might find in many of the workplaces there is certainly a lot of dark sisterhood still there, a lot of competition. Women can't celebrate each other truly. There's a lot of jealousy and stuff that goes on, and if there's scarcity, then it's all up. So we not available for that in my spaces. This space is a celebration. You want to go for the biggest big, you go for the biggest big, and we'll be cheering you. We will be looking out for the things that you can't see, and we'll be making you aware of them. We will be helping you along the way, because that is what is expected of each individual in the group, because we are coming together to redefine what sisterhood means. Having our gifts and our wisdom and our sharings means that we start to heal that sisterhood wound where we didn't get that rite of passage of having the elders pass down the wisdom. And this is something that then means we start to heal that fracture where women were made to compete. Women were made to go up against each other. Women were made to compete over men. This is all patriarchal programming. And by this creative coming together, we are also going to be, by osmosis, working through some of these pieces, because it is challenging. If suddenly you're triggered, the trigger is always within you. So I'm super excited to be sharing this. If this is something that interests you, there will be a link that I'll be posting. The ceremony that starts tomorrow is at 7 p.m. UK time. And obviously, if you join later on, you'll be able to catch that in the membership site. Something else I'm bringing as a bonus through, because I was guided, is that next week there is going to be another session on the Thursday evening. And it's around calling in your soul-aligned clients. Now, this could be calling in a new business deal. This could be calling in a new client if you've got like an online business. What seems to be missing is that the client attraction piece is missing the fact that you have a soul contract with everybody that you come into contact with. So you have positive aligned soul contracts to help, to work with, to collaborate with certain souls, individuals, that will be for the greatest growth for both of you. Those are the souls you want to start energetically connecting in with. And we're going to be going through a process of how I do that and taking you through that. And it will also be saved on the membership site for anyone that joins later to access it. And it's something that can be reused, because obviously you're going to go through your own upgrades and changes, and that's, your business will evolve. And that means, again, that you will be looking to attract at a different energetic state. So, you know, that's something that many people will be noticing at the moment, is they're no longer aligned with the people around them. And that can be clients, business people, you know, your colleagues. So that is the invitation for you to start calling in the soul aligned clients. And we do that in a particular way through the energy, through the essence that you're connecting in with. And it doesn't matter where in the world they are. So we're working energetically, but we'll be bringing it in to the physical intention to bring it into your experience, your life. You don't need to know the how. Literally, people will find you, because you know, the clarion call of how this stuff works can never ever. I find people that have found a blog post that I've written in 2017 that I can't even find for myself, and they're like, I've literally just found it. It really spoke to me. I need to book a session with you. Where's your calendar? If people need what the medicine is, they find you. And we need to start understanding that outside of the algos, outside of this fear-based kind of model that we have. We are energetic beings. We need to be radiating our true authentic selves, because that's the smoke signal to attract the soul tribe. And that could be the business community, or it could be the conscious community we want to be connected in with, that really, you know, has aligned vision of creating something new or living in a certain way. We've got to be radiant. And part of this awakening for women is really stepping into that again, knowing that we're safe to be radiant once more. We're safe to be ourselves in all our beauty and all of our wholeness. And that is going to look different for each of us. And yeah, Kat's come in to say hello. Powerful times. So sending you lots of love. I hope that has been insightful and useful. I would love to know any feedback that you have, and if you are also noticing some of these shifts in the people around you. I'm going to be doing the Ask Allera again next week, and also for those that are in more of the you know, maybe client facing, maybe you are also coaches, healers, and you're wanting to go at a much deeper depth level of activation, awakening, and healing with the transformation that you are providing. I've been also guided that I will be opening up a 9-month practitioner training, and that will be starting very soon, and there will be applications that the door will be open to put applications in. So again, if that resonates with you, you know, that's just a little seed that's been planted as well. Sending you all lots of love. Take care. Bye-bye.